According to Upstate Poison Control, there have been 144 cases, 144 cases of prescription drug abuse in Orange, Sullivan, and Ulster counties in just the first few months of 2011. And those are just the reported cases we know about. If that disturbing trend continues, it's more than one a day, we'll have over 430 prescription cases of drug abuse this year. How do they get these drugs? They sometimes rob pharmacies. They sometimes rob the trucks that carry the drugs to the pharmacies. And sometimes there are, particularly in Florida, places called pill mills where the actual pharmacist traffics in the illegal drugs, gives them to fences who then send them up here, and they're sold on streets in Middletown and Newburgh and Warwick and Cornwall. The people who actually work with these drugs, who purvey these drugs, often hang out outside high schools and tell the kids, hey, this is legal, you should try it. But an oxycodone pill, if abused, can be just as bad as crack or cocaine or heroin. Just consider the scope. Theft of prescription drugs in warehouses is up 350% since 2007, according to the U.S. Division of Freight Watch International, with $184 million worth of prescription drugs stolen in the U.S. last year. And armed robbery of pharmacies are at an all-time high, with at least 1,800 pharmacy robberies throughout the U.S. since 2007. With the increasing help of drug rings, these stolen drugs end up on the Orange County streets, which is very, very bad for us. Fortunately, Prestige Pharmacy here hasn't been robbed, but we got to take proactive efforts to make sure that Prestige and other Orange County drugstores don't fall victim. And if you ask law enforcement, they will tell you they're handcuffed. They are not able to do the job they need to go after pharma theft because they lack the legal tools. Criminals are executing Mission Impossible style heists, but law enforcement is stuck with Dick Tracy type tools. So today I'm announcing that I have written and sponsored a multi-pronged legislation that's going to give federal law enforcement the tools they need to shut down these drug rings. Let me explain. First, as I said, prescription drug abuse is rampant all across the country. The three major drugs are oxycodone, Vicodin, and Valium, as well as the derivative OxyContin. And they give people a quick, cheap high that's highly addictive and dangerous. Worse, because the drugs are supposed to be given out with a prescription, people assume they're safe. And when they try to abuse the kids, they say, hey, this is a safe drug, as I mentioned. Here in the Hudson Valley, we know this is a problem, and it's becoming worse. And like crack, unlike crack, where the country waited too long, we want to come down on prescription drug abuse immediately. So first, here is the 5-point legislation, 5 points that I am introducing. First, we would provide critical access to wiretaps and other tools to make it easier for law enforcement to break up the drug rings that funnel stolen drugs into New York. Additionally, my plan would put pharma theft under the RICO laws, and they have been hugely effective in breaking up organized crime when they've gotten involved in other kinds of drugs. Next, the legislation would increase criminal sentences for robbing pharmacies of controlled substance. Right now, it's regarded as a smaller theft. It should be a much larger theft because it's a drug crime. Fourth, we would enhance penalties for stolen medical product offenses. When someone buys a whole bunch of prescription drugs and then sells it to somebody else, they don't get much of a penalty because the drug is legal. It's not an illegal substance. You don't want to make it an illegal substance because some people need this stuff. But if your offense under our law, you'd get much higher penalties. Fourth, in cases where death occurs as a result of ingesting these stolen substances, we'd increase the penalty. And last, there'd be increasing civil penalties and forfeiture profits made. If we can do all of these things, we can show that would-be drug runners are going to be out of business even when they're dealing in prescription drugs. By increasing the penalties in concert with the extra tools we would give law enforcement, we can shut this down before it becomes too abusive.
I think that it's very timely and very appropriate and very necessary to reduce the supply side of prescription medications in our community. At the Alcoholism and Drug Abuse Council, over the last several years, we have seen a significant increase in the number of calls that we get related to prescription drug abuse. And it really crosses the lifespan. Unfortunately, probably the most significant age range is the 18 to 25-year-olds.
Right.
Our 18 to 25-year-old calls have increased very significantly, and the requests for family members to do interventions on that age population as a direct result of prescription drug abuse has also increased significantly for us. And we're finding anecdotally that young people that we're working with this problem have begun prescription drug abuse even prior to exposure to alcohol, marijuana, and some of the other gateway drugs that we consider the beginning stages of substance abuse for a young person. I met with a 21-year-old not long ago who started using Percocets and Darvons in middle school.